Look at this thing. It's ridiculous, and it's brown. Today, I'm gonna drive it. So Chevy was kind enough to invite me to test out their 2021 Corvette. Now, actually later today, I'll be taking this to Spring Mountain Raceway to go to this awesome Corvette driving school that they have there. But I decided to get here early so I could spend a lot more time with this. I've actually never driven this new mid-engine Corvette yet. I've actually never driven a car as quick as this thing. So I am totally looking forward to this, and I'm glad that I got here early. So unlike a red or a yellow Corvette, this thing is actually not that flashy, which I prefer. So instead of going to Vegas, instead of going to the strip and seeing all the flashing lights, I think I'm gonna take a cue from the color of this vehicle and go see some nature. Even though this thing is mid-engine, it's aggressively styled. In this color, it's actually kind of subdued. I think I could blend in a little bit. And I think that's what I intend to do on some back roads way outside of Vegas. I really don't want to see anybody. I don't want the hustle and bustle of the strip. We're gonna go take this on some wide open roads. Okay, enough screwing around. Let's drive this thing. 2021 Corvette Stingray Coupe 3LT. Let's launch it. Holy whoa! What the oh my god, that is fun. That is fun. Oh man. Oh boy, that was awesome. That was fun. I think I'm going to have to do that again. But first, I have to experience this amazing road. Got some really high speed sweeping turns. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. There's absolutely nobody else around. It is 102 degrees Fahrenheit, but I brought lots of water with me. There's no cell service out here. It's just me and this Corvette. The landscape is beautiful. We've just entered Death Valley National Park. To some, this may look like a desolate wasteland, but to me, there's a calmness, there's a serenity in this landscape. And I'm going to interrupt it with the sound of this gigantic V8 right behind me. Oh my God. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. So if you follow my channel, you'll know that I don't usually review cars like this. I don't normally drive cars like this, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what this thing is capable of. So you're likely aware that I'm probably one of the last people on YouTube to drive a C8 Corvette. Lots of people have driven this thing already. Lots of people love it. But when Chevy invited me to experience this vehicle and then go to their Corvette driving school at Spring Mountain Raceway, which I'm headed to in a little bit, I couldn't pass it up. I just had to do it. Who would say no to driving a C8 Corvette? That would be idiotic. I only have the car for a couple hours, so this is not going to be an all-encompassing review. This video is all about what it would be like to experience the C8 for the very first time, to experience the sounds, to experience the capabilities, and to just kind of see what it's like to live with. And keep in mind, this car does not have the Z51 performance package or the track alignment like the car I'll be driving on the racetrack later today. This is set up for the street for a bit more comfortable, less hardcore driving experience. In tour mode, this thing is incredibly comfortable. You don't feel like you're getting punished. It feels like you're driving something that's very well composed. It feels like you're driving something that you could sit in for a very long time. I could totally do a cross-country road trip in this thing. This is not the kind of vehicle that you're gonna go look at it in your garage and feel like, nah, I shouldn't take the Corvette today because it's going to punish my back or something like that. No, this is a vehicle you're gonna wanna drive no matter the situation. So right behind me is that 6.2 liter pushrod V8, pumping out 490 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. If you opt for the Z51 package, that gets bumped up to 495 horsepower. All Corvettes get an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission, and that drives those rear wheels wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport tires. Under ideal circumstances, this thing can hit 60 miles per hour in 2.8 seconds, though with the temperatures I'm experiencing right now, I doubt we hit that. Oh man, this looks awesome. Just a completely straight, deserted road right in front of me. One more launch, just because. Here we go. Oh my God. Woo! Holy. Now that we live in a world with 700 horsepower Dodges, a sub 500 horsepower Corvette maybe doesn't even seem all that impressive, but I think one of the great things about this vehicle is that it doesn't have too much power. The chassis is great and it's not overpowered. Yeah, I have gotten this thing to understeer a little bit in turns and understeer quite a bit in really tight turns. Actually, except for this one. Wow. Gets through that really nicely. So I picked the entrance of Death Valley National Park to give you a walk around of this brown C8 Corvette because I'm an idiot. It's 108 degrees Fahrenheit out here, but I'm gonna try to power through and show you this fantastic looking vehicle. When I first saw photos of the C8 design a couple years ago, I didn't really like it initially. I think this thing looks a lot better in person than it does in photos, and it also looks a lot better in certain colors. Honestly, I think the brown is probably one of the nicest colors you can get in this car. This looks a lot more luxurious, a lot more elegant. This looks a lot more expensive. Now, even though this is mid-engined and previous Corvettes were not, of course, this is unmistakably a Corvette from the front. Fenders stick out quite a bit. The headlights just sort of look like an evolution of the C7 headlights. I really dig the creases in the hood. Now, I love the look of these mirrors, how far they stick out. Definitely gives it a supercar vibe. And of course, you need that because you need to be able to see around the gigantic ass end of this car. And from the rear, this is also unmistakably a Corvette. They did a lot here to take this mid-engine layout and still make it feel like a Corvette. What do you think of the square exhaust tips? Yay or nay? It wouldn't be my first choice, but it really goes along with the aesthetic of this car. There's a lot of hard edges here. Of course, we have to talk about this gigantic air intake, which the door handle is actually right under here. It's hidden. That's actually pretty neat. If you're unfamiliar with a C8, you might not know how to open the door. It's right under there. And of course, these are functional because you gotta get that air back to that engine to cool it off. And of course, we can't go back here without looking at the engine. Start with the cargo area. Here's all my camera gear. One thing to keep in mind, anything you put back here, especially on a hot day like this, is going to get scorching hot. My tripod is actually, it's actually too hot to touch. And there it is. That's the 6.2 liter V8. Really is a thing of beauty. And it's soft close, which is nice. Let's check out the frunk. Now I put my roller bag in there. It just barely fits. So unfortunately, there's no way you're gonna fit two roller bags in the front. I couldn't even fit this one in the back. So if you've got a passenger with you and you wanna take this on a road trip, make sure you pack light. Now a dead-on side profile. This is where this design shines, in my opinion. It definitely has a supercar stance. It's got supercar looks from this angle. I think one small thing that it's not my favorite are the wheels. They're a little busy. So what do you think of the C8 design? Let me know in the comments below. Are there things that you like, things that you don't like? Let's talk about this cabin. What we've got here is what they call the natural dipped interior, which is kind of a weird name, but it looks really nice. It goes really nicely with that Zeus bronze exterior. And when you set foot in here, you immediately forget about all of those Corvette interiors of the past, which were, you know, not really that great. This is amazing. They did a great job. This is well buttoned together. It looks good. All of the surfaces feel really nice. Yeah, if you look really closely, like way down at the bottom, you'll find some cheap plastics, but anything that you see, anything that you touch, looks and feels fantastic. And there's some really nice attention to detail in here as well. All of the stitching looks really good. The feel of this aluminum mode knob and the handrest right here. Now, some people have mentioned that they don't like the square steering wheel. It's not my favorite look, but it works fine. You never really feel like there's a problem with it being square. And it has a really nice feel. I really love the stitching that they have on this targa cover right here. It looks awesome. On the dashboard, there's a lot of surfaces and ledges. It's kind of busy, but it looks really good. It seems like it might be a little bit tough to clean, but if you're spending almost 80 grand on a vehicle, just have somebody else clean it for you. Now, as a somewhat tall person, I'm 6'3", I have a lot of legroom in here. I do have the seat all the way back, but I don't have any problem fitting in here. There's a lot of adjustability in the seat. It can really hug you if you want. And from my perspective, I really love this driver-centric approach. It is kind of aggressive, it is kind of bold, it's definitely not subdued, it's really kind of in your face at how much they're going for the cockpit look, but I really like it. The gauges look fantastic and it gives you all the information that you want and all of the different modes. When I first saw this super long row of climate control buttons, I was immediately appalled, but actually using it, it's not that bad once you remember where everything is. I'd probably prefer a different approach, but you do get used to it. The only nitpicks that I can find in here is that these vent controls feel a little flimsy, the home button feels a little cheap, and the volume control feels a little cheap. If I had one other small nitpick, it would be that this tan interior kind of reflects on the windshield a little bit, making it a little bit difficult to see out the front. I kind of wish this centerpiece right here were black instead. But really, yeah, very, very, very minor nitpicky complaints about this interior. Everything else in here looks fantastic. So that's all from a driver's perspective. If you're the passenger in this vehicle, you kind of feel like a second-class citizen. You got this big wall that kind of blocks you off from the driver. It's very obvious that this car is meant for the driver. The passenger is definitely secondary. But apart from that wall that divides you from the driver, it is really comfortable. One other thing to keep in mind are the huge blind spots in this vehicle. Luckily, we have a camera in the mirror here. You can actually switch back and forth between a regular mirror and a camera. It's a much wider field of vision. So yeah, I've left this thing on the whole time I've been driving it. Now, this infotainment system, it's actually kind of small by today's standards, but that doesn't really matter because you have this gigantic screen in front of you, which is really the more important one for a Corvette. The system's great. It's super responsive. It's got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Now, we didn't talk at all about this Targa top. I didn't want to take it off because it is so damn hot out, but it does come off and it fits in the back if I didn't have a bunch of crap back there. That's the other reason why I really can't take it off, because once you put it in the trunk, it doesn't really leave you a whole lot of space for luggage or really anything. So if you really want a top-off experience, you might just want to go ahead and get the convertible. What do you think? C8 coupe or convertible? All right, back in sport mode. Jubilee Pass, 1,293 feet. This is a nice little curvy section of this road. Just the paddle shifters going to third. Now, we didn't really talk about the transmission at all because it's just so good. What else can I say? The shifts are lightning quick. It is really good. Nice straightaway right here into fifth. It might be going 100 miles an hour. Don't tell anybody. Sometimes I wonder, why did they put a road out here? It doesn't make any sense, but I'm glad they did. I don't think there's ever a time where you're frowning while you're driving this thing. It's just all smiles all the time. So here's my main takeaways for the C8 Corvette. Number one, get it in brown because that's obviously the best color for this vehicle. Number two, yeah, there's faster vehicles than this thing, but where else are you gonna get this much fun, this much capability for 60 grand? It's got supercar look, supercar performance. The interior is actually really good. It gets super comfortable. The fit and finish is great. All right, it's about time that I head over to the racetrack and get checked in for my Corvette driving school. I'm totally looking forward to this, and I'm hoping that this class will help me brush up on my skills and not suck quite so bad. I'll post a separate video highlighting my experience at the racetrack with the Z51 package, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't driven a C8, you definitely should drive one. If you haven't experienced a Zeus Bronze Metallic C8, this is your last chance. After this year, this color is being discontinued. Now, I know this is a very polarizing color. I love it. I guess next year there's going to be a slightly different brown. I will say this, if they made a teal Corvette, I would buy it in an instant. All right, I think that's gonna be it for today. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you can get notified of all my new car reviews, used car reviews. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're well, and I'll see you soon.